And it developed into those bad relationships where the father would leave and he'd have a family here and a family there, and that created bad blood, and that just continue for generations.
Really? So is that the reason why a lot of females are petty, or considered the labels that we get? We are catty, we're petty, we're confrontational, we're in competition with each other. Would you all agree that that could possibly go back to slavery or the enslavement of Black people?
Okay, so the angry part is totally different. And aggressive part are two different conversations. Those are two different conversations because those are labels of Black women.
Okay.
But those other things, I think that could be related to enslavement and how we were treated and put it against each other.
All right.
So I would say for some females, such as myself, I grew up a lot hanging out with my dad and actually my grandfather. So I was used to being around predominantly males. So as I got older, most of my friends were males. So I was just accustomed to that.
So Maria, why were most of your friends males? You just didn't have like females that lived next door to you, or no friend cousins, anything like that?
I felt like I bonded better with males because of my grandfather, because of my dad. So just growing up with them, hanging out with them mostly, and really not my mom a lot of the time, it kind of made me more comfortable around males.
Okay.
I totally agree with that because I'm the same way. I was super close with my dad, and like at football games, basketball games, baseball games, like that's where we was at. I spent all my whole childhood with my dad instead of like with my mom, even though we were all in the same house.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a combination of things. It could be, I think it's generational. I think it's where you grew up. I think it's who you've been around. It's all about who influenced you. Like we all know, like Marnese is my cousin. That was my first friend. So therefore my first friend was a woman. I have a sister, you know, and things like that. But, you know, as you grow up, you just get mature, and there's certain things you want to tolerate and not tolerate. And you just understand, like, I just don't want to be around that energy. So like, yeah, women are petty because of what they've been through. And there's always a reason why people are acting the way they are. I don't think it's a woman or a man thing. It's a person thing of being petty, a person thing of being negative, a person thing about being competitive. Because there's enough abundance out there for all of us. But I just think there's a certain mindset, and where you grew up creates that mindset.
So why do we get that label? I'm sorry, Keisha, I'll come right back to you. So why do we get that label that all females are petty, we're catty? Why do we always get that label versus men who don't get that label?
Because of society, men are the dominant, right? Men are the ones with the privilege. So therefore, if we are considered bossy instead of executive leadership skills, we consider bossy. Or instead of being assertive, we're being considered like an angry Black woman. It's all about societal and our unconscious biases that we have within society. That's the issue.
Wow. Thank you, Miss Courtney, for that. Because TaKeyisha, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was gonna say too, I agree with Courtney says too, and what Maria and Maisha was saying. It does have a combination of all, but I also think too, like Courtney says, more about like personality is a big thing. I think the older that we get, you kind of have to learn people. And I think you get to the point to where, like she said, you kind of get to the point where you don't really want to tolerate certain things. And so when people get older, they kind of grow apart, their personality change, and it's based off of their background, it's based off of their environment, it's based off their experience. So I think a lot of times, definitely as women get older, we have a tendency to change the way we think, change the way we go about things, change the way who we hang around with, how we look. And so a lot of times you maybe outgrow people. And so I think as far as being catty and all that other stuff depends on what. I hope a lot of women, when they do get older, they do mature out of that, but some women don't. Sad to say, but I think a lot of times women clash because of personality wise. And like I said, it has a lot to do with environmental, how people are grown, how they're raised, who they've been around, how they've been, raised around people and stuff like that. So I think a lot of times that's just something that's just going to happen. You eventually grow out of it, or you don't.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in as well and say, I agree with what Keisha said and what Courtney said, especially based on like society and your, how you grew up, how you were raised, because I have a lot of women in my family. I'm the oldest granddaughter. I'm the oldest child from my mother. I mean, my mother's children. For me and my brother, I'm the oldest child. So being the oldest girl, I've had a lot of great relationships with my aunts, my grandmother, my older cousins. So those things have nurtured me and made me into who I am now. And so because the women in my family have been so nurturing and so open and honest, it's created who I am today. So that has helped me to be more positive in my relationships with women. Like, I don't really have friends that are catty and things like that, because that's not the energy I draw to people. So I try to use that when I'm getting friends, when I'm developing relationships, when I'm getting to know people. So I think it's based on your personality and what you're drawing and what you're allowing people to draw you to as well.
Well, Naomi, you're considered the more spiritual therapist type of friend, though. So it seems that you will be able to fit and to nurture those relationships if you have a so-called catty friend or something like that. You seem like you would be more forgiving to accept that type of behavior. But how do you, as a female, call a behavior a behavior like that out? Because the conflict comes when, say, if you have friends and there's a conflict, we don't know how to talk to each other or come to each other as friends. If there's a conflict, we wait, we backbite, we don't talk to each other, we don't communicate with each other, and the feelings just fester for like a long time. Why is it that we can't come to one another if there's a conflict?
I think a lot of it is pride. Some people just don't want to confront the issue, or they don't want to deal with it, or they may not think it's necessary to do. But for me, like in all my relationships, I try to just come in a way that's not harsh. Is not gonna. I don't like to hurt feelings, but I'm able to tell people how I feel, but I don't want to hurt anyone or make them feel less than in the process. So I think it's just about, if people want to approach the situation, if they want to be able to nurture their friendship and allow their friendship to grow. And if they don't, then they're probably not going to act on those things. They're not going to confront, or they're not going to verbalize how they're feeling, or what the issue is.
Okay, cool. All right. So why is it important for Black women in particular to have good female relationships with each other?
Because we're under attack. So I think, honestly, we are the ones that have the most like people against us. When you look at dating apps, I'm married, but you look at dating apps, Black women are the last folks people want to be with. In the workplace, we get paid less. And we're labeled certain ways just because of society. So like, if we don't have each other back, who does?
And it's funny that you say that about the workplace. Did anyone have any other thoughts about that before I go into the workplace situation?
Nope. I think Courtney brings up a good, valid point. Right, hits the nail right on it. Hammer right on the nail.
I think society is starting to realize that we are the backbone of everything. We vote more than people. We struggle more than anybody else, and we survive more than anybody else. And they figure that now, if they destroy the Black woman, they could destroy the whole household. But they don't realize that we've had generations of struggling. We know how to survive. Just like going through the COVID-19. We know what it takes to keep our families safe, and we know what to do. And with other people, like when they had the Enron and all that stuff, they started jumping off of buildings and killing themselves and all that stuff. We know how to make bologna sandwiches and make a wish sandwich. So, we weren't about to do all of that. We know how to survive. We keep our families going through this. So I think we're under attack because they feel like we are a threat. People are listening to us. A lot of the candidates, like Stacey Abrams, is number one, besides Michelle Obama, to be vice president. Like, they're looking to her, I think, because they think that they get her and they get our voice behind it. But we are at the point where we're not going to vote for the lesser two evils. We're holding people accountable. and that makes a threat to America, and that makes a threat to democracy.
Okay.
Melinda, I mean, not Melinda. Maisha, what's a whisk sandwich? I'm sorry. Did she say a whisk sandwich?
Wish it was something between that wish it was something on there besides Miracle Whip.
Okay, I'm like, what kind of? I was like, Lord, I ain't struggling then, because I ain't never heard that before. So I want to make sure. Okay. Okay.
That's hilarious.
Sorry.
So I wanted to go back to the point of Courtney when she talked about working in the workplace, because we are professional women, right? And a lot of times in a professional environment, it's the female who either bullies us or hates on us for a promotion or just throw us under the bus. It's not the male. And it says in a recent study, more than 70% of women reported feeling bullied by their female colleagues. And this was a finding in a 2014 study by the Workplace Bullying Institute. So I just wanted to bring that up, that why do we do it to each other? Why is it there a competition specifically in the workplace? And I'm going to go back to us as friends and things of that nature.
I actually had a, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Melinda. I'll let you go ahead and talk.
Oh, like I was actually just accused of this not too long ago. But it wasn't even that I was being bullied. I was actually holding this person accountable for her action. It was just, hey, if you're going to come into work late or you're going to call off, you got to be held accountable. It's not me being a bully, but she kind of went to HR like, oh, two Black women can't work together. She's the older. She's, putting me down. I'm like, being a bully and holding you accountable is two different things. And I don't think people realize the difference of being held accountable versus being bullied sometimes.
Right. So Maria, I'd like to hear your thoughts on female relationships with women or in the workplace, or have you ever experienced any of this?
I actually have not experienced any of the competition things. A couple of my friends point out, like, I think this person's in competition with you. But I do feel like in the workplace, we do definitely need to have each other's back, because we're actually the minority in the workplace, especially where I'm at now. So we need to look out for each other and try to build each other up.
Okay. All right. So there's a term called toxic femininity. Have you ever seen any of these characteristics in any females that you know? And what has been some, or even in yourself, right? Have you ever, how have you ever confronted this? Or if you identify some toxic characteristics within yourself, what did you do to work on yourself? Because in order for us to have good relationships with each other, to dispel these myths and these labels that are put on us, you have to go inward first, right? So from your experience, have you seen people like that, or have you been the person, and how did you move forward?
With me, with my coworkers, if I feel like they're toxic or they're untrustworthy, or just women in general, I get away from them. I stay out away from them. They're not my Facebook friends. They're not my, Instagram friends. If they speak to me, I speak to them. Otherwise, they're invisible. And if I feel like I'm getting energy where I'm the toxic person, or if I'm not vibing with one of my friends who I've known for some time, I do a self-reflection, like, why am I feeling this way about her, or what happened, or what's going on? Or like in our group, if I have an issue, I'll talk to somebody that's closer to them. Mm-hmm. Like for this new group, this group here is all new to me. Me and Marnese went to grad school, so all of these women are her friends. Mm-hmm. And Naomi friends, but I came into the group. So we all have our different personalities, but if I feel like somebody, say like if I have an issue with Naomi, I'll go to TaKeyisha or Melinda and say like, what's wrong with Naomi, or what's going on with her? Mm-hmm. Or Marnese, ask TaKeyisha, like, what's going on with Marnese? I don't understand what's wrong with her. Mm-hmm. But I try to address it so that it doesn't fester. And with myself, I don't want to come off like with bad energy. Because it's like life is too short. Like we went to Vegas and going out of town and stuff. I want to enjoy that time. So it's like I may be in a bad mood or PMS is creeping somewhere, but you just have to take a few minutes and, like my therapist said, you put your hand on your heart, you feel your heartbeat, and then you listen, just stop and be in that moment so you can change what's going on and change what your mood is.
All right. Thank you so much, Maisha. Anybody else would like
Love
to
it.
I actually totally agree with what she just said. As far as like your coworkers or your friends, if they feel like, they have some type of toxic attitude, I kind of distance myself from them because I don't want to be around negative energy. I want to be around positive energy. If it's myself, I'll pray about it and ask God to change how I'm acting or how I'm feeling.
So I have a different view to that because I'm either a people leader or I have to lead by influence when it comes to the work environment. And so you have to learn how to have a crucial conversation because there's an end goal and a big picture that needs to happen. So some folks you can't stay away from, you still have to work with them. And so when I'm a people leader, back to the point of, somebody holding accountable versus bullying, you set the tone with the team first of what those expectations are. And there's no question on what you should be meeting. So that's how I've been able to avoid any type of situations where I've been accused of bullying because they know I'm there for them, but I'm also firm, but I'm also fair. When it comes to a coworker, we set mutual expectations with each other. So this is how I work and this is how you work because we all gonna have different personalities, but again, there's always an end goal. And as far as me talking about that dynamic between friendships, like if I feel toxic or if I'm having a mood, I will tell people that. Like, look, I need some time. Like, I don't have the mental space right now to engage with you all right now. So let you know I'm here. I love you, but I got to have some moments to myself. And if I do have an issue with my friend, I'm going to go directly to my friend, but come with a question versus being confrontational. Like, hey, I love you, but like, I feel like there's some distance or some dynamic that's kind of what's going on right now. Because I don't think being behind, talking to someone else is not going to address the issue. You might get some insight, but I think the solution comes when you direct it head on, mature as women should.
All right, before we go into the next question, I'll have to take a commercial break. And shout out to people in the chat. Hello, Dorsey. I see Ashley, Nina, and Mark. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Marnese Live Show. And then I would like to shout out to Flavor of Jamaica Restaurant in Pontiac, Michigan, on the corner in the Oakland Point Plaza on Elizabeth Lake and Telegraph. They have some really great food and they are taking takeouts. So go get you some Jamaican cuisine and stay safe and wash your hands before you eat.
And after.
You did a commercial break?
Yeah, she did.
Oh my God. We moving on now. I was wondering what that was in the background with that palm tree stuff. I thought but all right, go ahead.
Get some help, TaKeyisha.
Yeah. I was like, I think I touched something, but I ain't want to.
Yeah, just leave it alone. Disconnected.
I cannot do it.
I didn't let it happen.
She said we moving on up. Lord have mercy.
Don't hit with the commercial, girl. Don't hit with the commercial.
Oh my goodness.
So, to get back to our next question, so how can we, based on your experience, how can we do better as women to support each other despite our differences, right? Sometimes you don't have, sometimes you have female friends who may not be able to hear the truth, or females that you may have to be passive aggressive with, or just not be able to be direct with. Like Courtney was saying that, hey, maybe, her approach will be probably the ideal scenario to confront confrontation. So what are some, what can we do as women to have better positive relationships with each other despite our differences?
I think that we should be intentional with each of our relationships. So, with each friend, once you get to know them, you kind of know what they might need during certain times or moments. But just make sure that you're supportive, encouraging, taking yourself out of the equation sometimes. I know sometimes as friends, we put ourselves in Sometimes we might need to pull out and just see what does that friend need from me. Get to know your friends. Like some people call a person a friend, but they really don't know that person. Like get to know your friends, spend time with them, understand who they are, what is their background, what do they need from you, what were they missing before, try to get that connection and build that friendship in the way that it's going to be genuine and sincere and allowing it to grow and mature.
So any other thoughts on that?
I would say, like, always assume positive intent and then show each other grace, because we're imperfect human beings. And so, we all going through something. There's always a reason behind the behavior. So we just have to remember that.
Mm.
Wow. So at what point, like, you all are connected by me, like I'm the center. So how do you bring new friends into your group? And how do you handle different conflicts with someone that's a new friend that's coming into an existing group?
You do a trial run.
Like, cause Marnese,
You don't just bring people in. You gotta do a trial run. Let's do a brunch. Let's see how you like at a brunch.
I can say one thing, Marnese. You do have a lot of friends that have different personalities. Yeah, you do. That we all have different personalities, but we all, like you said, definitely with the group now, so we come together because of you. I just think
Y'all really love me.
don't worry, but and Naomi brought Melinda in. We love Melinda. You brought Maisha in. We love Maisha. We travel together. We have a great time. So, I think when you get a certain age, some things it is what it is. And I think some people are just going to be who they are. If people are negative, you can't change that. Yeah. If they're going to be toxic, they're going to be toxic. You can't change that. So I think a lot of times when you get to a certain age, like Courtney said before, and Maisha said, you just have like a low tolerance for dealing with trying to change people and help them, change for the better, just because that's your perception of what you feel that somebody could be better. That might be not where they're at that time. They might not want to change. They might be fine with being like that. And so I just feel like pretty much that if somebody came in the group that really kind of didn't mesh, if that's the friend that you brought in, you make sure you take accountability for the friend. I'm gonna be honest. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I'm glad we hadn't had that kind of opportunity, because I just pretty much, like I said, I think I'm with Courtney. I'm with Maisha. I'm just at the age now. I don't have tolerance for it. I think I have a lot of other stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So my friends are like my stress reliever. So I need to have friends that I can feel comfortable with being around. Being myself around, at work is something totally different and stuff, as far as anything else go. But, I'm like, I just want to have a good time. I like to get out, and let my hair down. Well, not my real hair, but the weave, just saying, I just want to have a good
Let's
time.
see it.
But having to, check you, check him, her, and, I don't want to do all of that. I just want to have a good time and enjoy each other.
Well, y'all missed that. Y'all dodged the bullet, because when we were at dinner we were at Naomi's dinner, she had more than one friend at the table. And the vibe that I was getting, and then she started talking about Vegas and she wanted to go, and I'm like, abort, Titanic, no. Like I'm thinking about the personalities, and I'm like, oh no, we not about And I thought like she would make Marnese so mad the whole weekend. But Melinda didn't have that personality. She was just like outgoing, and she was honest, and she was like really blunt, and I kind of met her vibe, and I'm like, yeah, she'll meet in with these December people, me and Marnese, it'll work out. We don't have to worry about her. But there was another friend, and I was like, oh, hell no. Naomi kept talking about it, and I'm like, girl,
Y'all so hilarious.
I don't know about that one.
Right. No new friends. And I'm like, wait a minute now. Like, I want everybody to go. But I think it was one person we did decide that we didn't want to go. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Apparently, I think the consensus that everybody was like, no, they wouldn't mesh with
everybody. Naomi's friend.
Y'all make a good point though. You can't travel with everybody though.
No, you
And
can't.
I don't.
Right.
That is true.
Right.
Sometimes you got to evaluate your friends as a group and then evaluate the person you bringing in to be, you know, with that group, because they won't mesh well. The personalities won't mesh well. So you got to kind of take a look at that before you even start inviting them to social outings and events.
So
That's true.
at what point do we just accept our friends for who they are, right? We have the Black Panther over here. We have a social, justice-oriented person, myself. I'm a hippie too. Then we have Maria is very calm and collected, but Maria will get up in there and she'll start partying. Then you had Naomi, the sweetie pie, spiritual person, and Melinda. Melinda is a daredevil. And then you have Courtney. I consider Courtney is, well, Courtney, I mean, me and Courtney has been together since she was a baby. So we always on a different spectrum of everything. So it's like, at what point do you just accept the person for who they are and what they do? You know, and like, hey, at the end of the day, let's go hang out and let's go have some fun. And I may not agree that you don't recycle and put your stuff where it's supposed to go. But
Keisha.
Hey,
Keisha. Recycle.
I move, I'm gonna go recycle. I promise I'm going to recycle. I just can't do it right now. My mind is just not gonna let me do it right now.
Earth Day is coming up, so you gotta commit. Earth Day is coming up.
Right, it is.
yes, and there is a correlation
Ain't
between
it the weed
COVID
day?
and climate change.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, I said, move, I will. I said, when y'all come down to visit me, I promise you I will have 2 different trash cans. Right now, everything is going in the trash and in the same bin. I'm sorry.
So to my point, how do we just accept each other who we are?
What?
That's what unconditional love is, though. You love that person for who they are.
Exactly. So y'all accept the fact that I am not going to recycle, even though I did it maybe 2 times when Melinda was here. That was it. That's all I could get him. But eventually, I'll get into it. But right now,
I believe it. I believe when I see
y'all
it.
just love me for who I am.
Just recycle when we there at least.
That's
Make us
funny.
feel good.
I can do that.
Hilarious.
All right.
I think you put your friends in different categories too. Like some of my friends they just want to talk about work. And if I invite them out somewhere, they're not going to go. So I stop inviting them. And some of my friends will go and travel. And you don't want to make a plan for all these people to go. And then you got 2 or 3 people that don't go. You lose out on money. But then you also have those friends that, okay, well, we going to the Blues Cafe for like Marnese's mother's birthday. And we all going to be there. And if TaKeyisha's in town, she's going to be there. So you just have your different things that you do with different friends. Some people will go zip lining and do things like that. Naomi didn't, but
Some people would just hold the
I
person.
forgot. Naomi
chickened out, but some people would do those daredevil things.
Y'all bags safe.
Really? I need somebody to go skydiving with me again. Any
I will.
takers,
Yeah, I want to go horse. I want to go riding on a bull riding, the mechanical bull.
Oh yeah.
No, real one.
No, your last you tell they stink.
Oh my God.
It's not about to impale me.
Last question is last question. So, and it's a curveball question. Is it the reason why females don't get along? Is it because of men?
No,
I don't think so.
No, it's just a competition
and insecurities.
Yeah, insecurity, jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be men, and it can be men, and it can be women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of men pit us against each other, especially if you have a man who has kids by different women. He'll say, well, this woman does this, or well, this woman does that, and she said this about you, or she has these feelings, and you meet this woman and she has no clue. She don't have no ill feelings. She just wants her child to be taken care of. And as far as women go, I think it's just a maturity thing. We have to learn how to accept people in their different spaces and accept that everybody's not going to have the same personality. And we all bleed, so we moody as hell sometimes. Sometimes we need to be in the sun. Like some people suffer from depression and they have to have some kind of sunlight coming in, or have to have, be able to socialize. And sometimes we just have to be able to be in the dark and not deal with people. So it can be men, but I don't think that we should use that as a crutch or as an excuse. But that can be a factor in not getting along with people. But it's like she said, it's self-reflective. We have to work on ourselves and do the inner work.
So that takes some acknowledgement, or one of our friends being direct and saying, hey, Marnese, you are coming off too blunt, and you need to re-examine your approach. That's probably the better, even though that's just in my DNA to be blunt, but I'm working on myself. So another question for you all. Back to the group, I have a comment. According to Valeria, she says how you were raised plays a big part. She said, my mother never had good female relationships. She showed that women are replaceable and don't let them get close. Do you guys agree with that? Wow. And could our mothers, for example, be a reason why we may not have good female relationships? Not attacking anybody, mama, okay? Disclaimer. Do you feel that sometimes moms and how your family or how you were raised play a part into how females treat each other?
Yeah, I've seen it happen.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have a maternal relationship. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the point I brought up earlier, is about how you grow up, but then also as you go through your formative years, who have you also been exposed to? Like you might start off with a mom that doesn't have a good relationship or with that type of dynamic, but then you also be exposed to different women as you grow. And so that changes your whole paradigm. So that takes a minute, but it's, it does start with the basis of how you were nurtured. And then when you grow, who were you exposed to?
So Naomi, Maria, and Courtney, all three of you all are in sororities. So have you seen different dynamics of women in sororities, more positive or more negative? And do you feel that's the reason why a lot of women don't want to join a sorority, because of some labels that sorority members get?
So for me, I love Zeta. And all the women that I have met in Zeta, I would say 99.9% have been positive attributes to my life. Even before I was a Zeta, like they were welcoming, and I don't know, I can't say anything bad about Zeta as far as any sorors that I have met.
Thank you so much.
Right. Yeah, I have the same experience as Maria. My cousin, she took me to siblings weekend when she was at Oakland University. She's a Zeta. And when I first met them, they were, to me, just open, genuine. I was just in high school, so they really kind of took me under their wing even that weekend and really showed me around campus, and just allowed me to really see what Zeta was about in those 2 days. So when I got to college, like, it was a no-brainer for me. I knew I was going to play a Zeta. It was no other sorority I was looking at, nothing else I wanted to do. And I've only had positive relationships with my sorors and, my SANs. So, but I can understand when people do have apprehensions about joining organizations because of things that have been said or talked about, or relationships or situations that happened with other people that they knew. So it just, it just depends on the person. You have to kind of see it for yourself, and not always just go by what someone has told you, but you have to just kind of form those relationships yourself and see if that's something that's for you, because a sorority isn't for everybody.
And of course, I love my Delta, and we are the largest. Yes, I know. And we all look different, but we all have the same type of DNA. I could see a soror, and I'll be like, I know she's a soror. That's because how we act. And, with that being said, it's like, I've always had positive experience. I didn't know what sorority I wanted to join when I went to school, but that's who I meshed with. That's who I looked up to. That's who I thought I was doing the most on campus at the time. And then whenever I do travel or go somewhere, I was in New Zealand, ran into a soror. Like, we everywhere. So it's like that bond, and that knowing that I still have somebody, always have somebody back. And of course, you're going to have those ones or twos where you be like, no, who let you creep in? Mm-hmm. But the majority, because we are very large, okay? I would say 99% are who they are, what they are supposed to be. So I'm proud, you know, and I think it up to the individual. You got to do your research. And like to Naomi's point, you know, we are imperfect human beings. And so somebody might have rubbed you the wrong way when they was having a bad day, but don't like stereotype the whole organization. That's like stereotyping all Black women. So,
Thank you so much.
I mean, yeah. So you just have to take that, you know, with a grain of salt.
All right. Well, so thank you so much. And I like to say hi to everyone in the chat. Hi, Michael. Hello, Andre. Hello, Mark. Thanks so much hi, Sakara. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions for our guests, please put it in the chat so I can ask them. So let's get a round of what do you feel that Black women can do to become better at supporting each other? What's something strategic that we can do to better support each other, since we have the most buying power, the most voter turnout, we are the most and highest educated group, okay? Black women, okay? No shade to any other group, but you know, we have we have really been oppressed since we, you know, been enslaved here, okay? So how can we find ways to support each other if they don't fit in our demographics, right? They're not moderate to upper class women that went to college, not in a sorority, or working women, right? How can we support women who are not like us, who may have different personalities than us? How can we show up for other women?
Listen first. And be accepting of other thoughts and opinions, not just your own.
And advocate for all women despite their status, their financial status or their economic backgrounds. We have to, when we go to rallies and we go to these social justice meetings, we need to speak up for the woman who is not in school or who doesn't have as much as quote unquote middle class or even in the working class. We have to always speak up for her and be her voice and just sympathize with her and not look down at her because she has multiple kids or because she lives in the projects or just because we don't feel like she meets our status as a successful woman. I mean, it's a lot of demographics of why she's not there, or she may be comfortable there. She may feel like this is the best place. My rent is $30 and I get to live here with my children in a townhouse, and that's fine. So we just have to advocate for everybody as one and not separate people as the low income, middle income, and higher income. We all Black women, and all Black women need it all. We want our 40 acres and a mule, so they're gonna give it to us. Biden want to be in the office, he got to give it to us. The Stacey gonna hold him accountable.
Thank you. That's my Black Panther friend.
I would say be radical humble, and be accessible. I mean, and be accessible because I mean, I'm fortunate to be in a work environment where we have all dynamics from the C-suite all the way down to your warehouse worker, as quote unquote. And so I make sure when I'm in the work environment, I'm super accessible, especially if I see an underrepresented minority. I'm saying hi, I'm smiling. I'm like, what you need? Like, what do you want to do next? Like, I'm trying to connect them with somebody else so I can be that one person that changes their direction. But that's growth, because a lot of times, again, a lot of folks don't like to bring other people up, but you need to be accessible because you might be that one person to be able to change their life just by connecting them with somebody else.
And I totally agree with what you just said. Sometimes you got to meet that person actually where they're at. Find some type of commonality with them and then try to support them, whatever, you know, you can do for them.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
And that's what I was thinking of too. Like Courtney and Lord have mercy, don't let me say her name wrong. I'm sorry. I know who she is. Maria. There we go. I'm sorry. I couldn't think of your name, Maria. I'm so sorry. Right. I see him. But I agree with Courtney and Maria says about like just basically supporting each other. You know, uplifting each other. You know, if, like she said, if you see somebody that's, you know, pretty much in a space to where you can do something to uplift them and get them to a different place, why not go ahead and step in and hook them up? I guess you could say in so many words, you know, bring them on with you. If they have an opportunity and you see that they have potential at doing some things that you know that there's a position open, or you know there's that they can utilize their talent somewhere else, why not go ahead and encourage them to go ahead and apply for it? Or, you know, I've had, you know, some positions open with my job and stuff, and I have some coworkers or previous coworkers that I know that are really great at doing their job. You know, if I know about it, I'm going to connect them with it. So, you know, just basically making sure that you connect people where they need to go, instead of, you know, well, they have to figure it out, that's on them and stuff like that. I think a lot of times we do have the mentality of getting out of the mind frame of like helping people. Somebody helped us get to where we're at now. And so, you know, you want to keep making sure that you pass that on and on and on to whoever. So, you know, everybody have a purpose.
Don't kick the ladder down just because you got to the top of it.
Yes, that's it.
So I have a question before we go, and it says, do you advocate for the person or the person's right to choose for themselves, even when it goes against all that you believe in?
I guess it depends.
I mean, I do have a caveat. Like, I tend to help people that are helping themselves more than folks that make excuses. And that's just me, because I do not believe in excuses. I do believe that maybe you haven't been taught. And so I give you the benefit of the doubt. But then that second time you come back with the same old stuff, I'm like, ooh, you know, so I think there's some boundaries and there's some limits, because you're enabling people or you're helping them. And there's a difference.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry. I was going to say, as a social worker, I see that question as, for me personally, I'm always having to remove myself from what someone else wants, even if it goes against what I think is right or appropriate. So you have to give people the opportunity to choose for themselves, to make their own decisions, make their own choices, empower them to do that, because it's not all about what I think is correct or right, but what is it that is important to them. So that's how I see it, from that point of not just trying to make it work for me, but make it work for what makes them happy, or what makes them able to move on and proceed and do what they need to do in that area of their life, or whatever it is that they're working on.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, you know, going back to the friendship or being friends with other people. Me and Courtney, like I said, we're always on the different sides. She's a Delta, I'm a Zeta. And I'm going to give this example of when she worked at an oil company. And of course, y'all know I'm an environmental organizer. And so it's like, I will advocate for Courtney, because one, she's my cousin, she's my friend. She's if she needed me, I'll be there. Now I don't necessarily believe where she worked, but heck, that's putting food on the table for her, right? She's providing. So I may not agree, I don't support that. However, I'm gonna definitely be there for her because she's my family, and that's my cousin. So yes, I will support you, but it's all on, I guess it's all situational, right? Say if you have a friend that, started using drugs or something like that, it's like, I'm going to help you get through this, but after a while, you're going to have to get yourself out of this because that's an addiction. So I just wanted to bring that up. So there are no more questions. And so, James, I have a question actually. Is marriage any validation? I don't know what that means. James, could you further explain what do you mean by is marriage any validation? Do you mean to have a good relationship with females? Do you cut your female friends off when you get married if they're not married? Yeah. Okay, well, so James, you're more than welcome to add to this thread on Facebook, and we can chime in as guests. So we're about to leave, and I'd like to say thank you all for coming on the Marnese Live Talk Show, giving your perspective about, you know, female dynamics, and I look forward to having a part 2 with men. Okay, so get ready for that one, because, you know, in order for us to have positive relationships, you know, with men or other women, we must first go inward. And so thanks so much for being okay, great. Wait for it. I'm gonna go back to the chat. Women at my job ask if marriage makes them better. Okay, so even though that may not, we can save that thought for another topic, because we're talking about building female and positive relationships. But that's a great question, James, and we're going to definitely come back to that for another talk show. And so I hope you tune in. So thank you so much, and you guys have a safe night. And tune in to Marnese Live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure you stay safe, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. And I'll be quite honest, I miss you all.
Oh, I miss you too.
Miss you too.
Oh my God.
Soon as we get a chance, we hitting up the Blues Cafe.
Okay.
No, we're going on our vacation. That's what we're doing.
Right.
Cafe.
I'm ready to shake a tail feather.
We need a vacation.
Yeah, we can hit the ATL real quick.
No, I need a beach in my life right now.
Okay.
Look, she done put, is that the beach right there? I thought that was the beach that you was putting up for Courtney. I'm like, oh no, that's not the beach.
All right, well, thank you all, and have a wonderful night.
Good night, ladies.
You too. Be
Bye.
safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop share in meeting.